You don't need to delete those out of focus photos. What if I told you that some of the most powerful, emotional and unforgettable photographs are the ones that are out of focus? Although you might think it's a mistake, in fact, it might be the missing ingredient in your photography. Let me give you 4 reasons why. Starting with this first misconception that we've all been taught: sharpness equals quality. That the best photo is the one with the most details, using the fastest autofocus, the crispest lens. But for many photographers, especially those searching for something more personal and expressive, sharpness isn't enough. There's a beautiful idea in Japanese philosophy called wabi-sabi. It's the appreciation of imperfection, impermanence, and the quiet, often overlooked beauty in things that are worn, weathered, or incomplete. It reminds us that perfection isn't the goal, feeling is. So what if a photograph doesn't have to be technically perfect to be deeply beautiful? What if blur isn't the flaw, but a doorway into something more poetic, more emotional, and more true? In this video, we'll explore how embracing softness, blur, and imperfection can unlock a whole new creative voice, and why the most stunning images are often the ones that whisper, not shout. Look at this photo from Robert Capa, taken at Omaha Beach on D-Day. The blurring just adds to the emotion. Digital photography has made us all pixel peepers. Gear marketing, forums, even camera clubs often glorify sharpness above all else. This creates performance anxiety, pushing photographers towards technical perfection rather than emotional connection. We get so focused on recording reality with perfect precision that we forget our true calling as artists is to interpret it. Back at the end of the 19th century, when simple cameras started getting popular, a group of artists rebelled. They called themselves the pictorialists. They were convinced that photography could be a true art form, just like painting, and to prove it, they intentionally moved away from sharp, literal photos. They used soft focus, they manipulated their prints in the darkroom, and they created images that were romantic, atmospheric, and deeply personal. They weren't just taking pictures, they were using their tools to make you feel something. This movement teaches us a huge lesson. Rejecting hyperrealism isn't some new trend, it's a core part of photography's journey as an art form. It's about choosing expression over documentation. If this approach speaks to you, if you're ready to make photos that are more expressive, meaningful, and less about perfection, I'd love to help. I run a mentoring program designed specifically for advanced beginners or intermediate level photographers who want to unlock their creative voice. You can book a free discovery call with me using the link below, and we'll talk about where you're at, where you'd like to go to, and how we can get there together. No pressure, just a conversation. I'd love to hear your story. Now let's get back to imperfect photos and understanding that blur is an emotional language. Sharpness gives facts. Blur gives a feeling. Think of how we remember people and places, not in perfect clarity, but with softness and emotion. Intentional blur engages memory, mood, and longing. It creates atmosphere rather than information. It can convey grief, mystery, or love, far better than a sharp image ever could. Photographers like Bill Jacobson use blur as a metaphor, not as a mistake. His soft, ghost-like portraits become a visual language for loss and memory. Alexei Titarenko, famous for his long exposure shots taken in Moscow at the time of the collapse of the Soviet Union, turns bustling crowds into dynamic shadows. And Olga Karlova takes blurry portraits and turns them into abstract art forms. Blur strips away the literal details, leaving only what's essential, an atmosphere, an emotion. It turns a photograph from a statement into a question, inviting you to slow down, look closer, and feel your way through the image. Blur invites imagination. Sharp images answer all the questions, but blurred forces our minds to get involved, to fill in the blanks. It invites our imagination to be part of the experience. This mystery creates deeper engagement. You're not just showing what's there, you're inviting the viewer to participate. This is the genius of an artist like Uta Barth. A lot of her work is made up of heavily blurred images where you can't even really tell what the subject is. This is what blur can do. It can lift a photograph from being just a picture of a scene to a symbolic or a metaphorical statement. It turns the photo in a prompt for your own imagination. Blur captures time and memory. Photography is often thought of as the art of freezing time. But what if we want to express time passing or the way memories fade? Techniques like motion blur, long exposure, or antique lenses allow us to express not just a moment, but the feeling of that moment as it slips away. The blur makes an image feel more dynamic and alive, conveying the excitement, even the quiet chaos of a memory. Blur connects history and emotion. It brings the past into the present with power and grace. And by embracing blur, we can make our images feel less like static objects and more like living memories. We can show the energy of a moment or the weight of history in a way that sharpness just can't. So next time you take a photo, resist the urge to zoom in and inspect every pixel. Instead, ask yourself, does this image make me feel something? Blur is not a flaw, it's a powerful creative choice. It allows your images to whisper instead of shout. It's the imperfect photo that says exactly what words never could. And if you want to go deeper in this way of seeing, don't forget, I'd love to talk with you. Book that free discovery call and let's explore how photography can become not just a skill, but a personal and expressive art form. I hope I've inspired you to re-look at some of your failed photos, and I look forward to seeing you next time.